Welcome to my channel. This is the second lecture on heart. So we are talking about valves. Let's start. The four cardiac valves, tricuspid, pulmonary, mitral and the aortic, maintain unidirectional blood flow. What are valves? Valves are the structures that provide the unidirectional blood flow or that prevent the backflow of blood. Basically, there are two types of valve. First is called the atrioventricular valves and the second is called the semilunar valves. The valves which are included in the atrioventricular valves are tricuspid valve and the mitral or bicuspid valve. The valves which are included in the semilunar valves are aortic valve and the pulmonary valve. All the valves have three cusps except one valve which is called bicuspid valve or mitral valve has only two cusps. Okay, and we know that the tricuspid and the mitral valve, they both are the atrioventricular valves, so they are present in between the atrium and the ventricle. Tricuspid valve is present between the right atrium and the right ventricle. Mitral valve is present between the left atrium and the left ventricle. Semilunar valves, which include aortic and pulmonary valve, the aortic valve is present between the left ventricle and the aorta, while the pulmonary valve is present between the right ventricle and pulmonary artery. Cardiac valves are lined by endothelium. They are lined by endothelium, and they share a similar tri-layered structure. There are three layers that form the heart. So let's talk about these three layers. Layers of each cardiac valve. One layer is called the fibrosa, one is spongiosa, and third is ventricularis or atrialis. A dense collagenous core fibrosa at the outflow surface and connected to the valvular supporting structures. A central core of loose connective tissue spongiosa, and a layer rich in elastin, ventricularis or atrialis depending on which chamber it faces on the inflow surface. So here I am showing you the diagram which will help you a lot. So here first we are talking about the atrioventricular valve, then we will talk about the semilunar valve structure. Okay, so this blue is the central core of the cardiac valve which we called spongiosa. This gray layer is called atrialis or ventricularis, and this yellow layer is called fibrosa, which is connected to supporting structures. Okay, central core is spongiosa. Here in this case, this atrialis or ventricularis layer is called atrialis, not ventricularis, because it is facing the atrium, not the ventricle. Okay, so here this is the atria, this is the ventricle. Blood first comes into the atrium, then it goes to the ventricle. So this atrialis or ventricularis layer is the inflow side, and this is facing the atrium, not the ventricle. So this is atrialis, not ventricularis. Then this second layer is spongiosa, and this third layer is fibrosa, which is at the outflow region. Okay, now let's talk about semilunar valve. The blood first from the atrium comes into the ventricle, and from the ventricle it goes to the aorta or the pulmonary artery. So here this is the ventricle and this is the aorta. Blood goes from the ventricle into the aorta. So this is the inflow side and this is the outflow side. So at the inflow side, this is atrialis or ventricularis layer. This gray is atrialis or ventricularis layer. In this case, this is ventricularis, not atrialis, because it is facing ventricle. From there, and the second layer, central core, is spongiosa, and this third is fibrosa. And they are saying that it is lined by the endothelium. This red is endothelium. Okay, these valves are lined by the endothelium. This is the simple diagram. So this is the aorta and this is the ventricle. This is the ventricular side and this is the aortic side. Blood is flowing from the ventricle into the aorta. So this is the valve which maintains the unidirectional blood flow. And this valve has the architecture, it has three layers, the ventricularis, not the atrialaris. It is facing the ventricle, so it is ventricularis. Then central core called spongiosa, and third is the fibrosa, which is facing the outflow tract. Okay. Now, a collagen of ventricularis is largely responsible for the mechanical integrity of the valve. It maintains the integrity of the valve, while the elastic tissue of the atrialis ventricularis imparts a rapid recoil to achieve prompt valve closure. So this elastic fiber, the elastic fiber is maintains a rapid recoil, while the integrity of the valve is maintained by this fibrosa. Okay. The proteoglycan rich spongiosa facilitates the interactions of the collagenous, relatively stiff and elastic layers during the cardiac cycle. So this spongiosa is helping in interaction between the fibrosa and the ventricularis or atrialis. The proteoglycan crucial to function are the valvular interstitial cells, the most abundant cell type in the heart valves. Along with these three layers, there is another important cells which are present in the cardiac valve called valvular interstitial cells, and these cells are the most abundant type of cells present in the cardiac valves and distributed throughout all its layers. So the valvular interstitial cells are present in all the layers of the cardiac valve, in the fibrosa, in the spongiosa, and in the ventricularis. Valvular interstitial cells synthesize extracellular matrix and express matrix degrading enzymes. They also express matrix metalloproteinase enzyme along with the inhibitors that remodel collagen and other matrix components. Valvular interstitial cells comprise a diverse and dynamic population of resident cells that can alter their phenotypes and functions in response to changing hemodynamic stresses. The function of the semilunar valves depends on the integrity and coordinated movements of cuspal attachments. Thus, dilation of aortic root can hinder coaptation of the aortic valve cusp during closure and result in valvular regurgitation. In contrast, the competence of the atrioventricular valves depends on the proper functioning not only of the leaflets but also of the tendinous cords and the attached papillary muscles of the ventricular valve. So the integrity of the valve, the normal function of the valve depends upon the cusp, integrity of the cusp, and in the atrioventricular valves, it depends upon the proper functioning of the leaflets, but also depends upon the tendinous cords and the papillary muscles of the ventricular wall. Left ventricular dilation, a ruptured tendinous cord, or papillary muscle dysfunction can all interfere with the valve closure, causing valvular insufficiency. So if the papillary muscle or the tendinous cords does not function properly, or if they are ruptured, then they will hinder the normal integrity of the valve and can lead to valvular insufficiency. They are thin enough to be nourished by diffusion from the blood. Normal leaflets and cusp have only scant blood vessels limited to the proximal portion. Pathologic changes of the valves are largely of three types. There are three basic pathological changes that can occur in the valve. One is the calcification of the valve that lead to the stenosis. And the second is prolapse when the cardiac leaflets and the papillary muscles, when they are not functioning properly, then it can lead to the prolapse of the valve. And number third is the fibrotic thickening of the valve. So exemplified by mitral valve prolapse, nodular calcification beginning in the interstitial cells, as in calcific aortic stenosis, and fibrotic thickening. The key feature in rheumatic heart disease, fibrotic thickening of the cardiac valves is seen in the rheumatic heart disease. Okay, and this calcific aortic stenosis lead to the aortic valve stenosis, and the mitral valve prolapse lead to the regurgitation of blood. So here is the diagram which will help you. So this is the heart, and this is the right atrium, the left atrium, the right ventricle, and the left ventricle, and these are the valves. These are the valves. These are the tricuspid valve, and the tricuspid valve is connected to the wall through these papillary muscles and these tendinous cords. If these tendinous cords and papillary muscle does not function properly, then it can lead to the valve prolapse and the regurgitation of blood back into the atrium. Now the conduction system. The coordinated contraction of the cardiac muscle depends upon the propagation of electrical impulses, accomplished through specialized excitatory and conducting myocytes within the cardiac conduction system that regulate heart rate and rhythm. The frequency of electrical impulses that course through the conduction system is sensitive to the neural inputs, either vagal stimulation, extrinsic adrenergic agents, adrenaline, hypoxia, and potassium concentration, which is hyperkalemia, can block signal transmission. The frequency of the electrical impulses depends upon the vagal stimulation, the adrenaline, the hypoxia, and the potassium concentration. Inputs from the autonomic nervous system can increase the heart rate to twice normal within seconds and are important for physiologic responses to exercise or other states associated with increased oxygen demands. The components of the conduction system include these. The pacemaker of the heart is present at the junction of the right atrial appendage and the superior vena cava. So the SA node is the pacemaker of the heart because the rate of depolarization of SA node is greater than the depolarization of AV node, bundle of His, or the right bundle branch and the left bundle branch. So it acts as a physiological pacemaker of the heart. And the SA node is present in the right atrium close to the opening of the superior vena cava. I will show you the diagram. The atrioventricular node is located in the right atrium along the atrial septum. It is present very close to the atrial septum. The AV node is present close to the atrial septum, while SA node is present close to the opening of superior vena cava in the right atrium. The bundle of His connecting the right atrium to the ventricular septum. Subsequent divisions into right and left bundle branches that stimulate their respective ventricles via further arborization into Purkinje network. The cells of the conduction system depolarize spontaneously, enabling them to function as cardiac pacemakers. Because the normal rate of spontaneous depolarization in the SA node is 60 to 100 beats per minute, is faster than other components, it normally sets the pace. Why the SA node is the physiologic pacemaker? Because the normal rate of depolarization of SA node is 60 to 100 beats per minute, which is faster than the other components, which is faster than the AV node, bundle of His, and bundle branches. So it is the normal pacemaker of the heart. The AV node has a gatekeeper function. The gatekeeper function is the responsibility of AV node. Because AV node provides the AV nodal delay, it allows the atria to contract first before the contraction of the ventricle. AV node has a gatekeeper function. By delaying the transmission of signals from the atria to the ventricles, it ensures that the atrial contraction precedes the ventricular systole. Okay, so here is the diagram which will help you. So this is the conduction system. This is the SA node. This is AV node. This is SA node is transmitting signals to the right atrium and then to the left atrium, and from the SA node signal goes to the AV node. Here is the delay of 0.1 second, which is called AV nodal delay. AV nodal delay is very important because it allows the atria to contract first before it releases its impulses to the conduction system, to the bundle of His. It allows the atria to contract first and empties its contents into the ventricle before ventricular contraction starts. So this AV nodal delay is very important, so that the atria empties its complete blood into the ventricle before the ventricle starts contraction. And then this is the bundle of His, then the right bundle branch and the left bundle branch, and these are then the Purkinje fibers. Okay. This was all about today's lecture. Stay tuned for the next upcoming lectures.